The whole world seemed to almost come to a standstill in shock when Tina Turner died in May of 2023. However, to me, her death is not as shocking as the horrible things she had to deal with from her birth to her dying days. It was so tough that she considered ending it all twice. You must have heard or read about some of her struggles, but it runs deeper than whatever you may have heard or read. And in this video, we'll unveil her untold stories while showing you some of her rare photos. Tina was born Anna Mae Bullock on November 26, 1939, in Brownsville, Tennessee. She was born into a regular family as the youngest daughter, and even at a tender age, Tina lent a helping hand by picking cotton to support her loved ones. Her father, Floyd Richard Bullock, worked as a supervisor for farm workers, and at this time of her life, everything seemed just fine. But in 1950, when Tina was just 11 years old, her world shattered. Her parents started having problems in their marriage, and out of the blue, her mom, Zelma, packed up and left, trying to escape the toxic relationship with her dad. She went as far away as St. Louis in search of freedom. Her mother's absence left an emptiness that couldn't be filled. The pain deepened when Tina discovered that her father had remarried and moved to Detroit, leaving Tina and her sisters in the care of their maternal grandmother, George Anna Curry, back in Brownsville. This separation stung deeply, and Tina couldn't help but open up about feeling unloved and unwanted by her own parents. Her pain echoed through her autobiography, I, Tina. But this feeling of not being loved changed at a time in high school when Tina fell in love with a guy named Harry Taylor. They met at a high school basketball game, and Tina saw in Harry a chance to feel valued, especially after dealing with so much hurt. They got together, and it felt like a safe haven from her troubled past. But life didn't keep things smooth for long. Tina's newfound happiness was shattered when she discovered that Harry was seeing other girls too. It was a tough blow, and her trust in him crumbled. The love that had bloomed so beautifully ended up fading away, leaving Tina with a familiar heartache. Adding to the weight of a failed relationship, Tina recalled the racial discrimination she faced growing up in Tennessee when she was still known as Anna. She remembered how things changed after the Civil Rights Act was passed in 1964, finally allowing Black people to stay in places like Holiday Inn. Before that, it was a constant struggle, with Tina sometimes having to sleep on buses or in cars, desperately seeking a place to rest. It was far from easy. Things were not really adding up for Tina as a teenager, and she even had to work as a domestic worker for the Henderson family. Then, on a dreadful day, while she was at the Henderson house, she received the heartbreaking news that her half-sister Evelyn had tragically died in a car crash alongside her cousins, Margaret and Vela Evans. But fate wasn't finished with its cruel hand. At age 16 again, her grandmother passed away, forcing her and her sister to return to live with her mother in St. Louis. Tina was only 16, and it seemed as though she had lost more love than she had ever received. After graduating from high school, Tina worked as a nursing aide at Barnes Jewish Hospital and had dreams of going into the medical field. Well, that changed when she began going out to some of the R&B clubs in the area. As fate would have it, she regularly attended shows that featured Ike Turner, who would later become her husband. Ike's talent left her spellbound, and she was so entranced that it felt like she was in a mesmerizing trance every time she watched him perform. Then one day, she had this gutsy move of asking Ike Turner if she could sing in his band, even though he rarely had women singers. He said he would call her, but sadly, he never did. But Tina wasn't the type to give up easily after one letdown. Then, one night in 1957, during a break, she grabbed the microphone from the drummer of Kings of Rhythm, Eugene Washington. She sang the blues ballad, You Know I Love You by B.B. King. When Ike heard her sing, he asked if she knew more songs. Tina sang for the rest of the night and soon became a featured singer in his band. It was a turning point that brought some light back into her life. Jumping ahead to 1960, Ike Turner wrote a song called A Fool in Love for singer Art Lassiter. Tina, still known as Bullock, was supposed to sing background vocals with Lassiter's backup singers, the Artettes, but Lassiter didn't show up for the recording session, and Tina had an idea. Since the studio time was already paid for, she suggested singing the lead herself. Ike Turner agreed, planning to replace her vocals with Lassiter's later on, but luck was on her side. A local DJ, Dave Dixon, convinced Turner to send the recording to Juggy Murray, who ran a record label called Sue Records. When Murray heard Tina's voice, he was really impressed. He even convinced Turner to make Tina the star. So Turner changed her name to Tina because it rhymed with Sheena, taking inspiration from jungle-themed characters. He added his last name, and he trademarked the name to protect it, just in case she ever left him like his previous singers did. Meanwhile, Tina was dating a saxophonist named Raymond Hill, and even became pregnant. At this time, she was 18 years old and had to move in with Hill, who was living with Ike Turner at the time. Unfortunately, their relationship didn't last, and Hill left before their son Craig was born. So Tina became a single parent at just 18. Around that time, she was just friends with Ike Turner, but their friendship later evolved into a romantic relationship in 1962 when they got married. Their wedding was a quick affair in Tijuana. It's said that they rushed into it to prevent Ike's previous wife from trying to claim his belongings. Tina talked about this in a 1993 interview with Vanity Fair, saying that the marriage was more of a legal move to protect Ike's property from his ex-wife's claims. Life with Ike Turner was like a nightmare for Tina. Ike could get really violent, especially when he was using cocaine. It was so bad that Tina even tried to end her own life once. One night in 1968, she found out that Ike was having affairs with two other women who lived with them. Strangely, both of those women were also named Anne. One of them was even pregnant with Ike's child. Tina was devastated and took around 50 sleeping pills in an attempt to end her life. After enduring years of misery and surviving the effort to take her own life, Tina finally had enough. She left Ike abruptly after a fight while they were heading to the Dallas Statler Hilton on July 1st, 1976. She escaped with only a small amount of money and a credit card, staying at a Ramada Inn. She asked for nothing more than the right to keep her stage name. This marked the beginning of her journey as a solo artist. But it wasn't an easy journey, as she went from one challenge to another. After the divorce, several promoters lost money and sued to recoup their losses. So Tina faced legal battle. And for almost 2 years, she had to rely on food stamps and play in small clubs to pay off debts. After several years of trying to fix her career and get over her past marriage trauma, love came knocking again. In 1986, she met Erwin Bach, a German music executive, and though he was younger, they had a romantic relationship for 27 years, and their relationship blossomed into marriage in 2013. Unfortunately, just 3 weeks after their wedding, Tina suffered a stroke and had to go through the process of learning to walk again. In 2016, she faced another blow as she was diagnosed with intestinal cancer. She tried using homeopathy to address her health issues, but unfortunately, they only got worse. By 2016, Tina had retired and was enjoying a more comfortable life in Switzerland. However, her health struggles persisted. Her kidneys began failing, causing her intense pain. In her 2018 memoir, My Love Story, Tina shared that she was dealing with multiple life-threatening illnesses. She had high blood pressure since 1978, which she mostly didn't treat, and this led to kidney damage and eventual failure. The agony she was experiencing led her to consider an assisted suicide program in 2016 as a way to find relief. However, her second husband, Erwin Bach, intervened by offering one of his kidneys to save her life. Eventually, Tina passed away on May 24, 2023, at her home in Switzerland. She was 83 years old and died from natural causes after battling various illnesses for years. Her body was cremated after a private funeral. Tina stood as a shining example of the strength of the human spirit, a woman who transformed her tears into music and her pain into determination. If you enjoyed this video, there's a good chance you'll also enjoy the one showing on your screen right now. Click, enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you on the next one.